I had the honor to play for our USA team as an 11th grader in high school. I played on the junior national team, and from that moment of just going over to Spain, my first time out of the country, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with having on that USA uniform and having the people chant, you know, USA. I just love our American flag when it rises, and I just feel like, you know, you could have been born in any country, but God blessed me to be born in America.
And I know how she feels, because once you're an Olympian, you always represent your country. You'll always have that feeling with you. It's a great feeling.
Now, 6 Brazilians on the roster also were in Atlanta for the '96 games, but there's one key player. For them to win a medal, she'll have to have a huge Olympics, and she's a name familiar to fans of the WNBA. It's Jeanette Arcane of the Houston Comets.
That's right. She's won 4 WNBA championships with the Comets. She played point guard with them, but with this Brazilian team, she is their go-to player. She's a veteran on this team. She is asked to score, and she will score a lot of points.
So she goes from the role player to the star player. And today, Jeanette Arcane will face one of her former teammates, actually still her teammate with the Houston Comets. That's Cheryl Swoops. The 2 teammates now battling out as both teams getting ready to fight for the gold. Starting lineups opening tip coming up next. Team USA for the women continuing their preparations for the Olympic Games in Sydney, where the opening ceremony is less than 2 weeks away. Our starting lineups presented by Sprite. For Team USA, Nikki McRae and Yolanda Griffith at the forwards, Lisa Leslie at center, Teresa Edwards and Ruthie Bolton Holyfield at the guards. Meanwhile, for Brazil, Jeanette Arcane at the forwards, along with Cynthia dos Santos, Alessandra de Oliveira, one of the best big men, or big women, shall we say, in the world playing, and Helen Luce and Claudia Dos Neves at the guards. Right now, let's send it to Greg Sager.
All right, thank you, Mike. By the time the United States defeated Brazil for the gold medal in the '96 Olympics, Cheryl Swoops and Jeanette Arcane had become bitter rivals. But since then, they have joined forces to lead the Houston Comets to 4 consecutive WNBA titles. However, today they oppose each other in a personal showcase among 2 teammates in a friendly rivalry among 2 countries.
Her role is a little limited when she's playing with the Comets, but on this team, she's the everything, you know, so she's going to come out, and I think because it is the United States and maybe because I am playing on this team, she's going to come out and really want to play well. You know, I think what we want to do, even though, as you said, this isn't a gold medal game, we want to come out and send a message to Brazil and say, you know what, this is who you guys are going to have to come through us if you want to make it to the gold medal game.
The United States and Brazil, perhaps the most competitive rivalry in women's basketball. Mike?
Thank you, Craig. Absolutely. And certainly another chapter to that will happen coming up in the 2000 games. Meanwhile, keys for today's game, Ann?
Well, the keys for Brazil, they've got to slow the game down because the United States loves to run. And for the United States, they've got to limit Brazil to 3-point shots because they are a team that likes to shoot the 3. And where they get it is off that dribble penetration and they kick it out. A lot of the Europeans do it, especially Brazil, and that's how Brazil beat the United States back in March, 64-55.
Teresa Edwards gets it quickly right down to Lisa Leslie. Nikki McRae. There's Bolton Holyfield, 4 of the 5 players from the WNBA, had great seasons there. And it's nice to see Teresa Edwards back on the floor again. Nikki McRae on the pull-up jumper. McRae played in '96, was a defensive specialist. Boy, she has come a long way in 4 years in terms of her overall game.
Well, and one of the things in the '94 World Championships, Tara Vanderveer was the coach and said that Nikki McRae was a defensive specialist. Well, that really encouraged her to work on her offensive game.
Alessandra de Oliveira, all 6'7" of her, able to get the first points. A tough matchup for anyone.
She played in the WNBA a little bit. She was assigned to the Washington Mystics, and they cut her. And then last year, she was with the Indiana Fever, and they cut her. So she's a player that has a lot of talent, but maybe playing in the United States is a little different.
Leslie off the mark. You'll see that with a number of European players. I mean, and Jeanette Arcane is a perfect example, a role player on the Houston Comets, but she really is a star in Brazil.
She really is, and she's stepped in because they have the retirement of Hortensia Macari and Paula de Silva, who 36 and 40 years old. They were the players for Brazil, and as you said, Jeanette Arcane now is the go-to player.
Those 2 premier players have retired, and this version for Brazil, a much younger version, but in some ways maybe a little more athletic, and they have high hopes, although they're a team that's certainly developing. Nice move inside from Helen Luce.
And as you mentioned, Mike, Brazil has 6 returning Olympians from '96, but a lot of them were reserves, so they didn't get the playing time.
So it remains to be seen in terms of, with that lack of experience in terms of playing time, how they'll handle it under the pressure in Australia. And there's Arcane with the jumper. And the United States trailing by 2 early on. Leslie ahead of the pack. Misses the layup. Arcane the rebound. 2-on-1 break. Loose, nice pass inside. And Claudia Dos Neves with the basket, and it's quickly 6-2 Brazil.
That was a picture-perfect fast break. Lisa Leslie missed the shot, so a defensive rebound and outlet by Brazil, and they kept the ball really wide. Lots of times players have a tendency to get too tight and close to the lane.
Sloppy pass there from Nikki McCray. And a foul call as Cynthia Dos Santos able to come up with a steal, and we'll go to the line for a couple. Brazil has reeled off 6 straight points.
Nell Fortner talked about coming into this game and really gearing up for the Olympics as far as focus. And this team has been very focused, has practiced very hard, but right now they don't look quite as sharp. It's also a team that is very talented, has a lot of depth in the United States, so players are playing a lot, and she said that sometimes affects any continuity offensively.
For all the teams preparing, a lot of that is just getting some chemistry, getting that continuity. As Dos Santos, 1 of 2 from the line, and a 5-point lead early for Brazil. Again, during the tour that the United States national team had last year and early this year, they lost 2 games. One of them was to Brazil. Now that was in Brazil back in March. But this is a very talented team as we have some pushing down low. And Cynthia Dos Santos will pick up the personal foul. So the first team foul, 8, and you're in the penalty. There's Antonio Barbosa, the longtime coach from Brazil. Edwards double team. Pass inside to Griffith. Griffith so strong down low.
We talked about her being a complimentary player to Lisa Leslie. Katrina McLean, who was probably the best in the world back in '96, really made it a lot easier for Lisa Leslie to become one of the top players, and Yolanda Griffith really compliments her.
Meanwhile, De Oliveira once again draws the foul down low. And Griffith picks up the first personal. So good things going early for Brazil, as thus far the Americans have had a tough time with Alessandra De Oliveira.
And there's Antonio Barbosa, and you know, he was the coach back in the 70s, became the head coach back in '76, and then the delegation kind of changed a little bit, and they let him go. And they brought him back in '97, and the monies really weren't put into the junior programs. And he has a mindset as far as how he's going to run this team, and he's brought in some young players for the 2000 Olympic team.
Well, he made some cuts that were controversial, and some people upset that he wanted to go with some of the younger players. Those political problems all over the place when you're picking the Olympic team. Off the miss, Arcane running it up the floor. Brazil likes to push it up, but they know that's not the tempo that they want against the United States, as Natalie Williams with the rebound. Edwards, nice feet ahead. Holton Holyfield, pretty pass, and Nikki McCray completes the fast break. And that's what you'll see a lot from the Americans. They will love to push it up the floor in transition.
A lot of it has to do with their defensive rebounding. Normally they will out-rebound their opponent, and they can get their fast break going with the outlets.
Arcane tries to force it in there. Ball kept alive, knocked out of bounds. And the United States will take over.
And a big adjustment too, Mike, as far as this USA team. You see Teresa Edwards with the nice pass. USA team, most of them have played in the WNBA, and they've played with that small ball, a ball size difference, so a little heavier, a little bigger than most of the players that have played in the WNBA, 11 of them.
There's certainly an adjustment there as Leslie draws the foul. Shot won't go. Leslie and Dos Santos getting very physical down low, but the slightest little difference really makes for some adjustment time.
It really does, and Brazil is a team that has been playing with it. Nice pass down low inside to Lisa Leslie, and this is a USA team that's going to look to get the ball inside of their post players.
So Leslie will shoot a couple. Of course, there are other differences as well. You have the trapezoid lane in international play. They play the 30-second shot clock, just like the WNBA, as Leslie puts in the first. And the three-point line, 20 feet, 6 inches. And some other rule changes as we'll go on throughout to explain as you get used to international play once again. A little full court pressure now from the United States, who've now tied it up.
Brazil has some good guards on this team. Helen Luz, number 5, you see dribbling the basketball. She had 17 points in that win against the United States down in Rio de Janeiro in March.
McRae knocks it out, and we'll have our first time out as Brazil has come out strong, but the United States bouncing back with some solid defense. With just over 4 minutes gone by in the first half, it's all tied.
The USA Basketball 2000 games are brought to you by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. By Champion, proud to be chosen as the official outfitter of the USA basketball teams. It takes a little more to make a champion. And by Gatorade Thirst Quencher. When the moment comes, will you have what it takes to finish? Gatorade. Is it in you?
Cheryl Swoops and the United States all tied up with Brazil at 8 apiece. A very gifted offensive team, this United States squad.
Look at that, 5 players in the WNBA this year. Cheryl Swoops was a scoring champion, and Katie Smith was not far behind. Smith scores a lot of her points inside, but also can score from the 3, and that's where she's effective on this USA team as far as a 3-point shot. Cheryl Swoops just got to this national team, the USA Olympic team, yesterday, had her first practice. And I talked to her before the game. She said, the ball's a little heavy.
Of course, she had a chance perhaps to do some celebrating after winning 4th straight WNBA title. The feed inside. De Oliveira, nice post move, and able to put it in. Alessandra De Oliveira off to a terrific start with 5 points and a couple of rebounds already.
Once Alessandra De Oliveira gets into the lane, she's very difficult to stop.
Nikki McRae, another turnover. Arcane gets inside. Won't go. Battle for the board. Still fighting for it. And last touch by the United States. Teresa Edwards couldn't hold on. De Oliveira with some terrific hustle there.
USA looks a step slow as far as the offense is concerned, Mike. You know, that pass is just not quite quick enough, not quite sharp enough, and Brazil is really reading where the passes are going.
Loose inbounds. That's the point guard, Helen Loose. Gets inside for the shot, flips it up, and puts it in.
The big thing for the United States is that extra step, and it was not an extra step that Helen Loose took, but the European international game is difficult to defend sometimes for the Americans because they're not used to taking those extra long steps.
Leslie shot off the mark, knocked out of bounds, still U.S. ball. Again, same thing with the basketball and with the rules. This is why these exhibition tours are so important, and because you have to adjust to a different style of play.
It really is, and for the Americans too, Mike, they're not together quite as long. If you look back to the '96 Olympic team where the United States won the gold, they were together a whole year where Tara Vanderveer took a year off from Stanford, coached that team, and they were together. This team was together this past off-season from the WNBA, 6 months. But then they were away from each other with most of the players playing in the WNBA, and now they've just come back together for about 3 weeks.
And that's one of the reasons why they're not the clear-cut favorites. Yes, you probably would say, but with Australia being on their home floor and Brazil being a younger, more athletic team, it will not be easy for them to win the gold in Sydney.
And you cannot forget Russia.
Arcane. Shamikwa Holzclaw has checked into the game for the United States. Dos Santos to Loose. Handle Loose off the mark. Leslie able to get the rebound. Nice outlet to Bolton Holyfield. 2-on-1 break. Perfect pass, and Holzclaw running the floor puts it in.
The one thing about the United States is their athleticism. There are so many good athletes on this USA team, and once they get their rebounds going, you can just see how they release and get down the floor.
You see Teresa Edwards defending, 36 years old, the oldest player on this U.S. team. Loose trying to post her up. Shot clock down to 8. Loose with a 3. A 3-pointer for Helen Loose.
Teresa Edwards, at the age of 36, her role has changed quite a bit on the USA team. She used to be a big-time scorer back in '88 and '92.
Leslie out of foul, and she may have gotten away with. She leveled Cynthia Dos Santos with a forearm and then put it in.
Cynthia Dos Santos trying to give position. Lisa Leslie, you see one player go down, and Lisa Leslie with the contact right there. They're going to give it to them, but here's the fast break. Lisa Leslie keeps the ball high. I like the fact that she does not bring it down, with the quick outlet pass. And look at Chamique Wohoskola just into the game, filling the lane. She's one of the 2 young players on this United States team, along with Carol Walters.
De Oliveira picked up the foul as Leslie hitting the free throws. Yolanda Griffith back in. So to set the lineup right now for the United States, Teresa Edwards, Katie Smith in for the first time with Holtzclaw, Natalie Williams, and Griffith. A 2-point Brazil lead. They're shooting 54% from the field. They're a dangerous team when they shoot well from the perimeter, because it certainly opens things up for De Oliveira, a 6'7" giant who's played very well early.
What also opens it up is the fact that their perimeter, or their post players, can go outside and shoot the 3.
Shot clock at 4. Dos Santos shot off the mark. Holtzclaw stepped out of bounds. She likes to hustle, but her and Williams got tied up, and it's Brazil ball.
Chamique Wohoskola, coming off 2 years ago where she was Rookie of the Year in the WNBA from the University of Tennessee, struggled a little bit this year, had an okay year, probably not a great year, and I think she's really excited to be a part of this Olympic team because she's playing with such great players.
Dos Neves, the 5'7" point guard, setting it up. They like to play 2 points at a time. Dos Neves and Luce. Pass inside, through it in traffic, deflected. Brazil holds on. Shot clock winding down again. Dos Neves looking to get it inside. De Oliveira, 2 on the shot clock. He's going to have to put it up. But a 3-second violation called. Good defense that time from the United States.
It really was. The Americans had great rotation. Every time the ball was going inside, the dribble penetration, you see how the team was switching off. Help defense all over the place. And there you see 3 seconds in the lane by De Oliveira.
Holtzclaw setting up. That's probably, again, the biggest difference and will make the difference whether or not they win the goal. Much like the USA men's team, defense is where they have the biggest advantage because they don't play that type of defense in Europe and some of the other countries. As the ball knocked out of bounds with a foul call as Katie Smith tried to create something. Dos Neves with the first personal. And for Brazil, that's their 3rd team foul. And we'll have another timeout. Brazil giving the United States a handful here in the first half. U.S. down by 2. U.S. head coach Nell Fortner, who led the team to the '98 World Championships in Berlin when they went 9-0, has a certain style she wants from her women in Sydney.
Well, this team's going to get up and down the floor. There's no question. It's we have a lot of depth we can use in terms of pushing the ball more, in terms of pressing the ball, pressing defensively. We have a lot of weapons, and it's nice to be able to have those weapons. So, and we'll use it to our advantage as far as defensively and pushing the ball offensively.
And what happens is a lot like the men's American team in the sense that by the end of the game they just wear you down. So even though they may be losing a little bit in the first half or whatever, they're so deep and they're fresh at the end of the game.
A lot of similarities with the men. However, the United States turning the ball over quite a bit early on. That's their 4th.
You can see USA is just playing a straight-up man-to-man defense. They're doing some switching when the dribble penetration comes down deep for Brazil. Right now, it's just straight-up man-to-man. They're not putting a lot of pressure on the ball.
Helen Luce stripped down low. Good defense once again as Teresa Edwards fighting with it. And they'll have a jump ball. Sylvia Luce has checked into the game. Helen's sister. And here's one of the assistant coaches.
Zeno Ariema, Coach of the Year. Also won the national championship again for the 2nd time at the University of Connecticut. They had a great year last year, and talked to him beforehand, and he was saying it's a little different role for him being in that assistant coaching position. But it's a great coaching staff with Peg Gillum and Julie Plank, and Peg Gillum, who was with Van Chancellor for how many years at Houston in the WNBA and also at Mississippi, and then she's now the head coach at Texas A&M.
Well, Nell Fortner assisted Cara Vanderveer in preparing the '96 Olympic team. Vanderveer on hand here this afternoon. Although it's this morning here in Honolulu as Helen Luce circus shot. Boy, pretty play from Helen Luce. 7 points for her. And the lead back up to 4 for Brazil.
Helen Luce, whose sister Sylvia also plays on the team. Their dad was a coach. And Helen is just such a smart player.
Katie Smith with a smart pass. And Griffith acknowledges it. Yolanda Griffith, the 2 points.
You really love that play, the pick and roll. And Katie Smith, they've got to do a better job defending her because she can shoot the shot from outside.
If you just tune in and you see the score and see the United States down by 2, it's not a big surprise. Again, the U.S., although favorites in Sydney, there's going to be a lot of competition. And Brazil, one of the teams, as Luce turns it over that time. 4-on-1 break. Holtzclaw puts it in.
That was pretty impressive, just seeing all those red jerseys go down the court.
And it will be a lot like the men, however, in that they will wear teams down. You'll see teams sometimes sticking with, hanging in there for a game, and then all of a sudden, you have one of those big runs. Sylvia Luce and Helen, the 2 sisters, argue about whose fault that one was, but it's a turnover for Brazil. As Dawn Staley, another 96 Olympians, will check into the game. So with timeout, we're near the midway point of the first half. Helen Luce, very impressive, as it's all tied up here in Hawaii. Almost the midway point of the first half, and United States women and Brazil all tied up. Don't miss a lot of action, of course, coming up for Team USA, both the men and the women, that we'll have as we lead up to Sydney. And there is Tara Vanderveer, the highly successful head coach at Stanford, who was the Olympic head coach. I can't say gold medalist, though, because the coaches don't get the medals in the Olympics.
No, they don't, but you know what? They are an Olympian just the same as far as the hours that they put in, and whether it be the coaches or the trainers or the doctors, the officials, just to represent your country means an awful lot.
And she did a spectacular job with that team. They were dominant. Griffith gets inside, can't finish, still battles Yolanda Griffith again. And that is a perfect play. If you've never seen Yolanda Griffith in action, that's exactly typifies what she's all about.
I just love the way she goes after the basketball on rebounds. She has such a knack for where the ball is going to be.
And United States, after trailing by 5, back up by 2. Arcane looks like she got hit on the follow, though. De Oliveira won't go down. Griffith touches it last. Both Arcane and De Oliveira yelling at Dee Kantner, wanting some whistles on those plays.
Alessandra De Oliveira, very emotional. This Brazilian team has always been very emotional. And Alessandra De Oliveira is no different. She's very high-spirited, they say.
They try and lob it inside. Griffith, excellent defense in the post.
She almost got the tip in.
And a reach-in foul called as Jeanette Arcane, the personal. Now, I mentioned Dee Kantner, one of the officials. She has a lot of international experience. She's also an NBA referee, one of the 2 women refereeing in the NBA, as Nell Faulkner looks on. The other official, Sally Bell. And, of course, in international play, only 2 referees.
And also for the Americans, this is an interesting thing for them to adjust to, because when they go overseas, it's an adjustment to play against the way the officials call the game. So you have 2 American officials on this game. When they go over to Europe, it will be a lot different for the United States.
Griffith with a pretty play down the other end. So we've talked about adjustment in the size of the ball for the WNBA players, with the rules, with the officials. And another turnover, so United States will get it back now, up by 4, their largest lead in the early going.
Another difference with the officials is that since in '96, I mean, '76 was the very first year for the Olympics in women's basketball, and the officiating was such that teams were put together for the United States in a short amount of time. In '96, that team was together a long time. Now you have a pro league, and they've learned to play in the pros a lot differently than the international rules.
Lisa Leslie puts it in, and it's a 10-0 run for the United States. And their lead is up to 6, their largest here in the first half, just under 8.5 remaining.
And that's exactly what you talked about, Mike, is those runs that the United States can put on you, and a lot of it has been because of their defense.
Good deflection from Dawn Staley. Griffiths running the floor, tracks it down. Diagonal pass, Staley, quick inside look, and Holtzclaw can't finish. Ball tipped to Helen Luce. A little fancy to her sister, Sylvia. Sylvia goes right at Dawn Staley, and that ends a 10-0 run. A little fist pump for Sylvia Luce.
But the Americans come right at you, and you have to play quick defense. Antonio Barbosa talked about transition defense, slowing this game down.
Dangerous pass from Holtzclaw results in a turnover. Arcane draws the foul. Demiqua Holtzclaw with the personal.
Here's off the steal right there. Helen Luce with the behind the back pass, and Sylvia Luce coming down, the younger of the two sisters, with the nice layup. Both of them were on the 96 Olympic team.
So Helen was injured, had a knee injury. Sylvia played a little bit more as Arcane will go to the free throw line. Cheryl Swoops has checked into the game. Tomorrow at 3 Eastern on NBC, more than 2,000 of the best professional and amateur outdoor athletes gather in Oregon's breathtaking Columbia River Gorge for the Subaru Gorge Games. Don't miss exciting events like head-to-head kayaking, windsurfing, and mountain biking, just to name a few. The Subaru Gorge Games tomorrow at 3 Eastern on NBC.
You saw how on that free throw, Brazil does not line anybody up because they just don't feel that they've got a good opportunity to get a rebound against the United States.
Offensive foul called on Yolanda Griffith, reaching around to establish post position. That's Griffith's second foul. In international play, 5 and you're disqualified, unlike the NBA and WNBA.
And the technical counts as a personal foul. The other thing in the international game is the game continues. I mean, timeouts are very difficult. The coach has to call a timeout at the table.
Arcane with a nice head fake to get rid of her Comets teammate Swoop, but she couldn't put it in. Staley quickly down the other end. Dawn Staley, who is the backup point guard in the 96 Olympic team. Leslie, good aggressive move to the basket. Won't go down. Marta Sobral, who's checked in a couple of minutes ago with a rebound. Sobral does not want to dribble it. And Luce pushing it up the floor. Sylvia Luce with the three. Both sisters have three-point range, and Brazil backed up by 1 as they've scored 7 in a row.
You can see the names on the back of their jerseys. It's their first names, and that's how they go in Brazil. And they call each other by first name, even no matter where they are in basketball.
Well, you always had Ann on the back of your jersey.
Right.
Swoops tries to get in. The pull-up shot won't go, but a foul. Helen Luce and Cheryl Swoops will shoot a couple, but Brazil getting some fast break opportunities.
They did, and they've been doing a good job on the defensive boards when they've gotten it out. And what happened, you saw Lisa Leslie and Nikki McCray playing defense in the front court, and it opened up the three-point shot, which Brazil, again, is so good at.
And one thing different that we're seeing is Natalie Williams checked in. Brazil in 96, again with Hortensia and Maria Paula. Both of them such great players for so long, but they relied so much on the three-point shot, and they just came down and gunned it up. This Brazil team, better ball movement, a little more unselfish play, at least here what we've seen in the first half.
We talked about Jeanette Arcane being the go-to player, but you're absolutely right. This is a team that's a little bit more versatile. They spread it out a little bit more as far as scoring, but when Paula and Hortensia were with Brazil, they were jacking it up when the ball was in their hands.
All tied at 24. Good pressure defense from Lisa Leslie, nearly forcing a turnover. Sylvia Luce getting fancy inside. Pretty play, but won't go down. Natalie Williams, the rebound in traffic.
USA trying to put pressure on the ball. Lisa Leslie coming out to help. It's happened a couple times, and you can see Brazil likes to drive, but they're also panicking.
Nice play from Nikki McCray. Little head fake, get rid of your defender, knock down the jumper. McCray is 3 for 3 from the field. United States back up by 2 with just under 6 minutes to play in the opening half, along with Ann Myers and Craig Sager. Mike Green on hand. Pre-Olympic exhibition games here at the University of Hawaii on the island of Oahu. Janice Arcane just fired that one up there and then commits the loose ball foul. It's fun to watch Swoops and Arcane go at it. They work so well together with the Houston Comets, and now battling each other. Arcane just 1 of 7 from the field.
And they don't really guard each other that much in practice because of the fact that they're both on the starting lineup with Arcane at the point guard position.
Claudia Dos Neves back in the game for Brazil.
As a matter of fact, the first year of the WNBA, nice pass inside to Lisa Leslie. With Cheryl Swoops being pregnant, Jeanette Arcane started for Cheryl Swoops that first year for Houston.
Dawn Staley looking impressive in the early going, off the bench. United States back up by 4. Good ball denial by Swoops. Marta Sobral hits the 3. And again, when Brazil connects from downtown, they are such a dangerous team. It's their 3rd three-pointer here in the first half.
Marta Sobral, the veteran on the team at the age of 36, has improved her game, taking it outside.
Lisa Leslie coming off her best season as a pro. Some of her numbers may have been better in other years, but she was a runner-up MVP, the swoops in the WNBA. She's become such a complete player. De Oliveira. Basketball. Tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Swoops again gets inside, and Brazil's defense really breaking down. It seems like they're so discouraged on the offensive end that they're not giving their best effort down the other end of the floor.
And it's a matter of the United States getting the ball inside. They can create so much. We talked about how they like to pass the ball.
Edwards with the steal. Loose trying to stop her. Katie Smith to Griffith, and a foul. The United States pouring it on here in the second half.
Teresa Edwards, talked about her becoming a 5-time Olympian, coming up with a steal. Had a chance to just make a spin move, go in for the layup. We mentioned that her kind of role and her attitude has changed since 88-92 games. She's looking to really distribute the ball. There's a nice pass inside Yolanda Griffith with the dump off inside to Cheryl Swoops. Very unselfish play by this American team.
And they have outscored Brazil 20-5. Teresa Edwards gets the congratulations. Edwards would be in her 5th Olympic Games, the most decorated Olympic basketball player ever. 4 medals, 3 golds and a bronze, and she wants another gold in Sydney. She said, I remember at the end of the Atlanta Games, that was it. She was done with her Olympic Games, but she's back in terrific shape and playing well.
Well, what an honor. She read the athlete's oath at the 92 or the 96 Olympic Games on her birthday in Atlanta, her home state, and it just everything about it was special for her.
And she's from Georgia. As a foul call, Lazar Kane threw the foul.
Her 4th personal.
There you see, she just has so much international and Olympic experience. She really is, you know, legendary status approaching in a women's basketball game, of course, because before the WNBA, a lot of people didn't know some of these players. Now, she has not played in the WNBA, yet still very well known. She wanted to play, but her and the league just could not agree on terms. And it's a shame, because it would have been a great chance to expose her talents to, you know, that kind of exposure for her, and the WNBA could use a great player like her as well.
But she's okay with it. I mean, she's had a great career. The thing is, what the WNBA has done the last 4 years, put women's basketball out there on stage. And we mentioned that Katrina McLean was the best player in the world in '96, but a lot of people didn't recognize it because Lisa Leslie had gotten, not saying Lisa Leslie was not a great player, she was, but the recognition that Lisa Leslie had achieved, where Katrina McLean and Teresa Edwards was kind of like overseas playing pro ball and not getting that kind of recognition on this kind of stage.
20-point lead. Some zone defense from Brazil. First time we've seen that. Swoops. 3-pointer well short. Arcane will let it go out of bounds. Arcane picking up her 4th foul certainly did not help, as she had to go to the bench for a while.
And Brazil may be going into the zone a little bit too late. Antonio Barbosa talked about going into a zone when Katie Smith was not in the game, because he knows what a good shooter Katie Smith is. But there you see a 2-3 zone, spreading it out. And as we mentioned, that the United States has not taken a lot of outside shots.
For zone defense, it is legal in international play. Adriana Pinto getting some moments here in the second half, again, one of the younger players that Barbosa wants to take a look at. Arcane has to fire it up, shot clock winding down, and a 30-second violation.
And obviously with Jeanette Arcane with 4 fouls has not been able to play as much in the second half.
Don't miss the second half of this USA basketball doubleheader. Up next, Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, Kevin Garnett, the rest of the men's Olympic squad taking on a team made up of the best college all-stars. Olympics less than 2 weeks away. The countdown to Sydney is on. Stay tuned for more USA basketball next on NBC. Those college all-stars have been scrimmaging against the Olympic team this week. And they'll play a regular game coming up. Lisa Leslie, a 2-pointer. Leslie showing her versatility. 14 points to lead all scorers.
Lisa Leslie and Dawn Staley have roomed together for so many years as international teammates for this United States team. They know each other so well, and that was basically a set play with Dawn Staley penetrating to the middle.
foul down low on Delisha Milton, her first on her post defense on De Oliveira. Delisha Milton had a superb season with the LA Sparks, was an all-star for them. She's a real up-and-coming player. 26 years old.
She's so aggressive, only 6'1", but she has that 84-inch wingspan with those arms, and she's a physical player.
Still Brazil ball. Just past the midway point of the second half. A half that has been dominated by United States defense. Adriana Santos trying to get free Staley. Great aggressive defense. Williams on the good help, and a travel. Terrific team defense from the USA.
They're really coming off, doubling off that pick nicely, and what's happening is the guard dribbling past the person setting the pick is getting caught in the double team rather than hitting the person that's supposed to roll.
They've only scored Brazil 7 points in the second half. Stifling defense from the United States. Despite just joining her team the other day, Sheryl Swoopes has played well as the United States up by 22.
The first time she's been able to play in a game situation with the United States. Everything inside, going to the basket. Nice little move right there. They wanted to travel, but Sensitive had the presence of mind to keep that foot on the ground. And then again, cutting to the basket, her teammates finding her. A lot of people know she can shoot the outside shot. She's got 13 points only in 13 minutes, and you can see 5 of 7 also with 2 rebounds. But she's just getting used to this team, trying to feel her way, what she has to do, and also a defensive player.
She was the MVP of the WNBA and Defensive Player of the Year, as we said. Chamique Holtzclaw back in the game. Staley deflected, gets it back. Brazil has more turnovers in this half than shot attempts and points. Leslie knocks it down and the lead up to 24.
I really like this lineup that the Americans have with Lisa Leslie coming out a little bit more. Natalie Williams down low. They're going into a 2-3 zone themselves, the USA, but opens things up with Lisa Leslie on the outside, be able to hit those outside shots.
There you see those second half numbers. They have only scored 7 points in the first 11.5 minutes of the second half.
And Chamique Holtzclaw at 6'2" makes it very difficult to shoot over her.
Long three off the mark. Sylvia Luce, fight for the loose ball down low. And it's going to be Brazil ball. By the way, that was Alan Luce who let loose on that three-pointer. That was about NBA
I knew you'd
range.
come up with one.
Sorry. I'll apologize now. Coming up on 8 minutes remaining in the second half. A very impressive second half for the United States. At least the first 12 minutes of it. Alan Luce, excellent defense. Lisa Leslie guarding a point guard. And a travel call on Cynthia Dos Santos. Boy, the defense, both containing the ball with the dribble, the individual defense, and the team defense has just excelled.
There's no question. In the second half, the United States came out defensively, picking up the pressure. Not a very good pass right there.
Arcane the steal, 3-on-2 the other way. Helen Luce won't fall. And a block shot from Natalie Williams, and he'll jump it up.
Dawn Staley basically not happy with Chamique Holtzclaw, kind of telling her you've got to come meet the basketball, but also a good defensive play by Dawn Staley on that break situation. She forced the outside shot where Helen Luce had to take it, and they missed it. Now a jump ball situation.
De Oliveira deflects it out of bounds. Here at the University of Hawaii, where they have the loudest horn in the history of college basketball.
Well, this is the new place. The Stan Sheriff Center, who was the athletic director here years ago, passed away. Really supported the University of Hawaii.
There's a turnover. Nice steal from De Oliveira. Luce setting up. Adriana Santos tied up. Leslie has guarded all different kinds of positions. Santos gets inside. Pass to De Oliveira, puts it in.
Adriana Santos with that penetration really opened things up for them. They needed a basket too.
Staley, a pure point guard. Doesn't look to shoot very often. Such a great distributor. She's also a coach now, Dawn Staley. Be the head coach at Temple this fall.
she's a little bit more vocal a leader out there than Teresa Edwards. Teresa Edwards definitely leads by example. Not that Dawn Staley doesn't, but Dawn Staley verbalizes things a little bit more.
62-40, a 22-point lead for the United States against a team that's one of those expected to challenge them. Shot inside, won't go, but a foul. But you really can't go right now in terms of what's going on because Arcane just joined the team and she's really their key player, and they've got some young players that get international experience. So from this standpoint, would a game like this, a blowout game in a pre-Olympic exhibition, will it send a message? Does it have any impact on what's going to happen in Sydney?
I think it always sends a message. I mean, the United States wants to prove that they are the best in the world, but you also don't want to show your hand. I mean, these are exhibition games, and they're trying to get things together. Brazil the same way. They've got 2 weeks to kind of get things going before things start in Sydney. And anytime you play the exhibition games, I think it's a matter of trying to get together. You said this is a young team. They've got some new players on this team. The players that were on the '96 Olympic team for Brazil, the majority of them were subs, so they didn't get as much playing time. So this is kind of new for them.
For more information on Team USA, log on to usabasketball.com. All the latest news, highlights, and stats for both the men and the women as we get ready for Sydney. Plenty of information on the top players in the world. Coming up on 6 minutes remaining, 20-point lead for the USA. The ball movement there again against his zone defense. Bolton Hollyfield, the runner. Shot, gets the roll. We're starting to say earlier that she doesn't have the quickness she used to have, but still so experienced, and she's a great presence in the locker room.
The one thing that really impressed me on that play, the patience on the offensive end for the United States.
Helen Luce knocks down the three. It's fun watching. You talked about the emotions of the Brazil squad. Even though they're down by 22, they score baskets. The fists are being pumped in the air.
We don't get to hear it here, but when I was playing on the United States team, we go to the Pan Am Games and the World Championships down in South America. They always had great fans and great support from other team members, like the men's basketball team. And they had their flag, and they have the bongos going and the shakers and Brazil, and it was the whole game. They would do it, no matter where we were. It's so much fun to be around because of the fun that they have and the emotions that they show.
Arcane, wild shot. Natalie Williams, the rebound. Williams has done an excellent job on the boards. That's her 7th. Staley with a rare jumper. Dawn Staley putting it in.
She keeps you honest.
The coach can shoot. What a great college career Dawn Staley had at Virginia, now a member of the Charlotte Sting from Philadelphia.
I asked her, who's doing your recruiting right now? This is recruiting time. And she's got some wonderful assistants that are backing her up.
You know, she's doing some recruiting by some of those young high school players watching her on TV. That's pretty good recruiting. Holdsclaw, nice give and go with Staley. Attempt feed to Leslie, knocked out of bounds. And still United States ball as Griffith and Swoops will come back in. Lisa Leslie will sit, as will Holdsclaw.
And that was really a veteran play by Dawn Staley as far as knocking it off the feet. I don't think she really tried to get it to Lisa Leslie because she was stuck so far underneath the basket. And they also got rid of that 3-second call because Lisa Leslie was waiting for so long for the ball.
15 points for Leslie to lead all scores. Bolton Hollyfield. The 3 won't go. But Swoops able to keep it alive. Swoops, such a terrific rebounder as well. United States showing good poise and patience against this zone. And there's a foul that crashed the offensive glass. Cheryl Swoops all over the place. And she'll shoot a couple.
Swoops again, Mike, with that weak side rebounding. And defensively in that zone for Brazil, having a tough time trying to find out where Cheryl Swoops is. But good rotation and passing by the United States, and Cheryl Swoops comes out of nowhere almost with that tip-in.
Swoops in '96 was a great player. They talked about the female Michael Jordan had a great college career, but she's a better player now. Where do you see the biggest improvement in her game from 4 years ago?
Well, no question. In my mind, a lot of it has to do with maturity. When you're older, you learn how to play the game a little bit better. But she is so quick. The elevation and the concentration of her game, I mean, she's so focused, and she comes right at you. I mean, it's that dagger, that killer attitude. She's always had great range, but I think she's more consistent in her outside shot, and she's going to the basket. Her defense is really a big key of her game, and she takes great pride in it. And as she said, when she won Defensive Player of the Year in the WNBA this year, a lot of it had to do in the sense that she feels so proud because she played zone at Texas Tech.
Offensive foul against Brazil. She's one of the few women that can dominate a game defensively. We saw that in the WNBA on numerous occasions. Kelly Santos picks up the offensive foul.
It's just her confidence, too. I mean, she has come into her age where her life is settled, I think, and balance is so important, not only on the court as far as body positioning, but balance in your life. And I think Sheryl Swoopes really has that right now.
Griffith gets inside. Shot off the mark. Arcane the rebound. Just over 3.5 remaining here in the second half. One that has been all USA. Another turnover. Natalie Williams is very quietly had a superb game. Running the floor. A little lefty jumper. She's done it all. Excellent rebounding. Some very tough defense. And Williams also got her first field goal.
And if you look at her size, I mean, she's bigger than Katrina McClain. Doesn't score as well as Katrina McClain did, but the kind of rebounds she gets.
Cynthia Dos Santos. 6'4" forward, able to put it in. And a foul call on Yolanda Griffith down the other end. And Griffith is fouled out. That's her 5th foul. Strong performance for Griffith. 13 points, 3 assists. What she's done for the afternoon. Just over 3 minutes remaining. United States in complete control. The men's team has been training in Maui, the women's team here in Honolulu, and we're on the island of Oahu, where gold medalist Clyde Drexler is on hand. Clyde, part of that team back in '92 in Barcelona, the original dream team with Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, of course Scottie Pippen, and the head coach was Chuck Daly. Drexler was spectacular, as many of his teammates, Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullin as well, Larry Bird, of course, David Robinson, just perhaps the greatest basketball team ever assembled, and he was their head coach, and he stands by right now with Craig Sager.
And sitting next to one of his assistants on that team, Mike Krzyzewski. With me, Chuck Daly. You know, a lot of skeptics said in '89 that the NBA players wouldn't give up their summer, they wouldn't compete for the Olympics. How'd you get all those great players to play for you?
Yeah, you know, Prince Rainier asked me the same questions. Took those sorry-ass players and made them into a team. No, they're really proud of what they did, and they were probably as professional as you can be about handling the whole situation.
What about this team? You've been in practices. How would you compare it, or not compare it, but what do you think of the '96 team and then now the 2001?
I don't think you can compare it because this is an entirely different team. Much younger, very, very athletic. I think they're going to do more passing and trapping. I think they're going to be extremely exciting.
What's the biggest challenge for Rudy Tomjanovich coaching these All-Stars?
Always the biggest challenge is minutes and trying to keep everybody happy. He's got so many healthy guys. I had a couple guys who were injured, but keeping everyone involved and playing people is the biggest challenge usually.
How's your golf game?
Stinks as usual.
All right, thanks a lot. So does Mike's. Mike.
Well, that's true. Meanwhile, Chuck Daly looks great for 70.
Well, he really does. I had the best. I was over there yesterday, and we sat for about 45 minutes waiting for the shuttle to take us over to the golf course, and I had the best conversation just talking hoops.
What a terrific coach. 2 NBA championships with Detroit, and of course leading the team to the gold medal in '92. But he's right. John Stockton was hurt. Magic Johnson missed a couple of games, and Christian Laettner, the one college player, he didn't have to worry about him complaining about minutes. So basically for a lot of it, it was just 9 guys. Rudy Tomjanovich has a little tougher task. But there's no egos involved, at least thus far in the team, in terms of complaining about minutes. Staley inside to Swoopes. And they just continue to pour it on as we approach 2 minutes remaining.
And here it is 8 years later for the women. This is basically their first dream team with all the professionals playing.
Swoopes gets the crowd going with the block shot. Staley trying to get fancy again. Dawn Staley is one of those players where she makes the highlight films, but it's not overly fancy. I mean, she has some fancy passes, but she does it when it's a smart time. She never gets out of control along those lines.
Dawn Staley was a 2-time Player of the Year at the University of Virginia back in '90 and '91, and she could do a lot more things. Her knees have kind of slowed her up a little bit, but boy, she is fun to play with.
For Adriana Santos, for the USA, number 9.
Natalie Williams with an excellent performance, sitting down. 7 boards, as we mentioned. Some real smart defense as well. Carol Walters will come in for the first time. Walters, the former UConn star, giving the United States some size. 1.5 minutes remaining. And this one, Bolton Holyfield knocks down the 2-pointer, foot just on the line. She's got that rainbow arc. She hit many of those, hit some big 3-pointers in the gold medal game back in '96 to beat Brazil. Kelly Santos, Cynthia Dos Santos, meanwhile, with the rebound.
And you mentioned in the World Championships back in '98 in Berlin that the United States was down. Ruthie Bolton Holyfield was the one that brought them back, not only on the floor, but at halftime in the locker room.
Dos Santos kicks it out. Sylvia loose. Well short. Staley gets to the ball first, which happens frequently. Under 1 minute remaining. Lisa Leslie making her move. A lot of contact there. And then a foul on Leslie, a hard foul. And she tried to get it back from Claudia Dos Nevos.
Here you see the little reach in by Dawn.
And here's the pass from Bolton Holyfield, the AT&T connection of the game. They've had a lot of good connections here today in a game that started 10:30 in the morning local time. That's not easy to get ready for that. They were ready to go, though, from the opening tip.
You have lots of different times when you're in the Olympics, and you have to get ready as far as what time you're going to play. Sydney, Australia is the time difference, especially for the United States.
And there's some early games that will be played in Sydney.
And even Brazil coming over here to Hawaii, it was a 20-hour flight for them.
Kelly Santos, 8 on the shot clock. A sweeping hook from Cynthia Dos Santos. And the shot clock turned off. Bailey will just bring it up. A great second half for the United States as the seconds wind down and Swoops puts an exclamation point. He said they wanted to send a message to Brazil after losing to them back in March. Well, message sent with a 22-point victory. Today's Regal by Buick player of the game is Cheryl Swoops. A point a minute. Regal by Buick will donate $1,000 in Swoops' name to charity. As Cheryl Swoops and Team USA with a dominant second half of play.
Everybody contributed, and Cheryl Swoops, her first game with the USA, just dominated. Lisa Leslie had a very good first half. You could just go right down the list and talk about every player for the United States, and they've got to keep this kind of pressure on and play like they did in the second half for 40 minutes.
And again, just arriving the other day to join her teammates after another WNBA championship as the United States women acknowledge the crowd and the support. Defense dominating as they completely control the second half. And right now, let's send it over to Craig Sager.
Well, at least the team together just for one practice, and that was yesterday. How did things able to gel so quickly?
I think with having the chemistry from last Olympics team, bringing those 5 in, and just our team's been playing really well. I think it started on the defensive end. We started out a little slow, but we pulled things together.
A lot of people probably watching the game for the first time, maybe surprised about how aggressive you guys are underneath. Is that going to be a trademark of this team?
Definitely. I think being more aggressive, international style, allows you to play a lot more aggressive, especially the players off the ball. So it's going to take a lot more for the post players. We may be small, but we got to fight in there.
How does this game adapt to your versatility? We saw you guarding several different positions, also going outside, shooting the long shot.
Well, I was guarding a point guard tonight and also inside. It just allows me to be a little bit more versatile. I can step outside playing a shot a three-pointer tonight. But I think the international game is more geared to the style that I like. So I'm really enjoying this right now.
The Brazilian coach said, yes, there's a rivalry with the U.S. But right now, he says the two teams to beat are the United States and Australia. Is that the way you look at it?
No, I think Russia, you can't leave Russia out of there, as well as Cuba. Those are some very good teams, and we're not looking past any of those teams. Obviously, Australia is going to be a great team, but they have to get to the gold medal round just like us.
What about Cheryl Swoops stepping in and playing so well?
Hey, Cheryl and Ruthie are two players I said I never want to leave the country without, and I'm just happy that Cheryl's here doing a great job, and we're looking forward to playing some more defense together.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's go back to Mike.
Craig, thank you. Leslie with 15 points. Started off slowly, but A terrific performance earned her teammates a dominant victory. We'll have plenty more from Hawaii coming up.